FEMA is responsible for managing the efficient and timely delivery of federal disaster relief to support and supplement the efforts and capabilities of state, local, tribal, territorial, SLTT, and insular area governments, eligible nonprofit organizations, and individuals affected by a presidentially declared major disaster or emergency. FEMA's incident management and support activities are authorized by the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act, Stafford Act, Sandy Recovery Improvement Act, SRIA, and several statutes. The National Incident Management System, NIMS, National Response Framework, NRF, National Disaster Recovery Framework, NDRF, and National Mitigation Framework provide foundational doctrine and guidance for incident management. Incidents can be notice or no notice. In a notice incident, such as a hurricane, FEMA is able to pre-position resources and staff, while other incidents provide no advance notice. FEMA supports SLTT during the aftermath of a disaster with response and recovery operations. While the primary work of response and recovery is done by local emergency responders, FEMA plays a critical role in coordinating interagency support for the federal response to major disasters. Response operations focuses on the coordination of federal capabilities to ensure efficient and effective delivery of immediate emergency assistance to individuals and communities impacted by these disasters. Recovery operations focus on support for affected communities and rebuilding, so individuals, civic institutions, businesses, and governmental organizations can function on their own, return to normal life, and protect against future hazards. There are 3 phases of disaster response. Phase 1 includes pre-incident actions that shape operations. Phase 2 is usually but not always post-incident. Phase 3 is relevant to long-term sustained operations. There are 14 NRF emergency support functions that provide federal support to SLTT and insular area governments under presidentially declared disasters or emergencies. Additionally, recovery support functions provide the structure for coordinating interagency support to SLTT and insular area governments in the aftermath of an incident. Many actions are necessary before and after a disaster or emergency declaration. In a notice incident, local responders make preparations. In a no-notice incident, local responders arrive on the scene. Typically, the governor or chief tribal executive activates the State Tribal Emergency Operations Center. When the FEMA administrator designates an incident or expects an incident to be of significant impact, the National Response Coordination Center, NRCC, is activated to coordinate federal support for major disasters and emergencies and emergency management program implementation. Along with the NRCC, additional activations and deployments occur as needed. Next, the disaster declaration process begins for a presidentially declared emergency or major disaster declaration with joint preliminary damage assessments that inform a request from the governor or chief executive of a tribe to the president via the FEMA Regional Administrator. Following the initial response efforts, the FEMA Regional Administrator or Federal Disaster Recovery Coordinator, FDRC, facilitates disaster recovery coordination and collaboration between SLTT and insular area governments, private sector, and voluntary faith-based and community organizations. The FDRC partners with and supports the state and/or tribal disaster recovery coordinator to facilitate disaster recovery. Disaster operations require partnerships among levels of government, the private sector, and non-governmental organizations, along with the entire community, in order to support the needs of disaster survivors.